यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम् परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृताम् धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
We now transition to our next topic and a wonderful speaker. As I think about the next speaker, thoughts of amazement, awe, and humbleness come to mind. We have an esteemed guest, Dr. Murali Krishna, who is going to speak to us on the topic of management for self for effective leadership. Words do not do justice to this great yet humble personality, but I will give it a try nonetheless. Dr. Murali Krishna is a MSc and PhD from Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, India. A scientist with more than 36 years of research experience in various reputed pharma companies, including Lupin Limited. He has a number of papers and patent publications for his scientific work in his professional tenure on variety of drug molecules and pharmaceuticals. He has made intensive efforts for the last 1 decade on the message of Bhagavad-Gita and conceptualized management aspects useful for the mankind. Considering his significant contribution to the Bhagavad-Gita as useful to the society, his name is entered in many record books, including the India Book of Records and the International Book of Records for his album Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. With that, let's give a warm round of welcome to Dr. Murali Krishna. Dr. Murali Krishna, over to you for your talk.
Thank you, Mr. Ajay. Namaskar. First of all, on the occasion of Gita Jayanti, my greetings to Swami Mukundanada Ji, Dr. Karan Singh, Dr. Kiran Bedi, and Mr. Shiv Khera, and other distinguished personalities and speakers, and all the viewers who are seeing this program. And actually, I have found that the teachings of Swamiji are very useful and very inspirational for the whole mankind. I am thankful to Prasanna who reached out me to connect me for this event. And I'm also thankful to JK YOG Bhagavad-Gita Summit for giving me this chance to say a few words on Bhagavad-Gita today. Bhagavad-Gita is an ocean of knowledge. It's a manual for the management of whole lives. And it explains the management of self for liberation in spirituality. It provides a lot of confidence and fearlessness and direction in the path of righteousness for peace, happiness, and enlightenment in our lives. Bhagavad Gita actually is 5,000 years old scripture revealed by Lord Krishna to the great warrior Arjuna in the battlefield. It's very unusual text emerged in the battlefield because the Arjuna was in depression state and Krishna educated him on variety of aspects and provided the great knowledge. Though it was the 5,000 years old scripture, even today, all those teachings of Krishna are applicable to us in our lives. So my topic is effective leadership by self-management. The self-management for effective leadership. Self-management is very much essential in our lives. So management of self and self-management all the time, I have a different meaning. I don't know how people understand between the self-management and management of self. But the self-management is that to organize the things in order to reach our destiny, to achieve our goal. But whereas the management of self is quite different. It is the cultivation of our soul, and management of our self means the purification of our soul, how we elevate our life, how we do our actions, how we think, what are the quality of our thinking process, and how we adopt with respect to the pathway to lead the path of righteousness to achieve the goal and destiny. The cultivation of the soul, the purification of the soul is very much important, not only for this life and for the next life also. So self-management and management of self, both are important for effective leadership. So here, the Arjuna was in depression during the battlefield, and Krishna explained, educated him on many aspects so that Arjuna can regain his energy and act on his duty. Here, leadership means people feel that only it happens in the offices or in our professional field or in the governance. But actually, leadership, everyone is a leader. Actually, leadership is very much essential for each and every person. Every person is a leader, what I mean to say, because one has to deal many things in the life to accomplish the tasks, to reach the destiny. So as a leader, the quality of our own decisions and characters makes the difference from others in succeeding the tasks. So there are so many leadership qualities. We all know that are important in our life to accomplish the task. But out of that, few I will capture here with the relevant shlokas of Bhagavad-Gita. I will recite few shlokas which are very relevant as I'm singer, so that you all feel maybe good to understand. Here, Arjuna was in depression. He expressed his feelings because he lost his character, he lost his personality, he lost all his leadership qualities. So he was explaining that Nimittani cha pasyami viparitani kesava nacha sreyo nupasyami hatva sajanamahavi nakamshe vijayam Krishna Nacharajyam sukhani cha kim no rajyena govinda kim bhogair jivite nava. Arjuna expressed his feelings saying that, "Oh Krishna, I only causes of misfortune. I don't see any good in killing my own people in this battle. I don't desire such victory, kingdom, or pleasures." Even Arjuna was ready to sacrifice the kingdom because he doesn't want to kill his own people in the battle. He was so depressed. He doesn't want any kingdom or happiness or even life, he told. And as a leader, he lost his character. So then he was asking Krishna, because Krishna was his mentor. For any leader, a mentor is required. A guide is required so that the guide can direct the person in the right path so that the person can take the right decision to act. So further, Arjuna explained, surrendering himself to Krishna, asking his guidance. He expressed that Karpanya doshopa hata sabhavaha पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यात् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं साधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् Krishna was the mentor for Arjuna, and Arjuna was asking Krishna to guide him. So what is the best for him? He asked Krishna because he puzzled and he lost his character, and he was asking Krishna what is certainly the best for him. Because Arjuna was a disciple of Krishna, he surrendered himself and to asking to instruct him and to advise him, to guide him. So then Krishna told Arjuna the depression. Krishna has seen the depression condition of Arjuna, and he explained that why he got this impotency, what is yielding to impotency for Arjuna, and give up such faint-heartedness, and he was making ready to prepare Arjuna for the fight. In the shloka, he explained that Krishna told Arjuna that Klaibyam mas magamaha partha naitatva padyate kshudram hrudaya daurbalyam tyektotishta parantapa. Krishna told that don't yield to impotency, it's not right for you. Give up such faint-heartedness and stand up and ready for fight. Because Arjuna lost his spirit amid battlefield due to emotions. Arjuna completely demotivated and he lost his mental stability. Because for any decision making, and mental stability is very much important. And Arjuna was unable to think properly and he was not in a good state of mind. So Krishna further told that Dukheshu anudvignamanaha Sukheshu vigataspruha Vitaraga bhayakrodha Sthitadhir muniruchyate. For making any decision, a stable mind is required. What Arjuna lost that stable mind. And Krishna told that one who is not disturbed in mind amid sorrows or elevated with the excitement of happiness, and who is free from attachment, free from anger or fear, and is called a sage of steady mind, means that kind of person can have the stable mind. Because the imbalance in mind, if at all is there, one cannot perform the work in time. Knowledge, skill, and dynamism without any mental agitation are very much important to accomplish the task. A stable mind never gets disturbed by happiness or by any kind of sorrow. A stable mind is free from all kind of attachments and emotions and free from fear and anger. When a person acquires the stable mind, he can take the right decision to act upon of any kind of situation and any kind of task in life. What Krishna explained Arjuna. Further, Krishna told that the peace of mind is very much required. The quality of a person needed for getting the peace of mind, he explained further. Mana prasadaha saumyatvam maunamatma vinigraha bhava samsuddhi rityetat tapo manasamuchyate. Cheerfulness of mind, placidity, habit of contemplation, control of mind, purity of inner feelings, these are all called the asteroids of the mind. So one should acquire all these qualities to have a stable mind and to take a decision that is the right decision on any situation. It's very important to keep the mind calm, stable. One can derive the quality decisions when mind is stable and one have the peace of mind. Peace is very important in life, and that is possible only if the mind is stable and not influenced by any kind of mental agitation. Quality decisions are possible with peace of mind. So Krishna explained the quality required for mental stability. For all these things, self-control is the main important component. If one can have the control on the self-control means on the control on the senses, conquering on the senses, conquering on the mind. If one acquires a stable mind, then one can take the right decisions and can come out of all kind of depressions as well. So, but for losing the self-control, there are for certain components, certain negative elements actually play for losing the self-controls. Krishna explained that affinity towards an object is the root cause. Further, the attachment which one can develop because of the affinity. And finally, the man degrades himself because of all kind of attachments if one develops. The shloka explains that Dhyayato Vishayan Punsah Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Samjayate Kamahan Kama Krudhu Bhijayate Krudhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammohat Smruti Vibhramaha Smruti Bhrimsa Buddhinaso Buddhinasat Pranasyati Buddhinasat Pranasyati. Krishna explained that while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops the attachment for them. And from the attachment springs up desire, and if the desire is not fulfilled, anger arises. From anger, complete delusion, and from delusion, lot of confusion and loss of memory and loss of intelligence happens. When one loses the intelligence, then one falls down from his position and goes to complete ruin. So affinity towards objects develops the attachment and leads to degradation of life. Decisions can be wrong with attachment and develops affinity towards the objects. What Arjuna faced the same, because he has a lot of attachment with his own people. He was worrying about his dynasty. So if battle happens, he knows that the dynasty will collapse. So he wanted to protect the dynasty. He wanted to protect the human loss in the battle. So he wanted to withdraw from the battle, so sacrificing the even kingdom. So he was a so kind-hearted person. So he wanted to do like that. He explained in the shloka of chapter 6, 35 verse. Nigraham chelam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagya very difficult to curb the restless mind. That is possible to control by practice and detachment. It's a matter of one's own ability to regulate the senses that is possible by practice and detachment. If one has the detachment, and he can achieve the goal as well, controlling the senses and controlling the mind, one can have the stable mind and one can conquer the senses itself. And further he explained that one is responsible for one's elevation, for one's degradation as well. This is the most important verse in fact, because how one can plan the life for the elevation and one can plan the life for the degradation. If we see the leadership qualities of Duryodhana, he planned all for the degradation, whereas the Pandavas, they planned for all for their elevation. The shloka explains that Uddharedatmanatmanam Natmanam avasadayet Atmaiva Atmanu Bandhuratmaiva Vipuratmana. So it's a matter of one's own efforts responsible for one's elevation or one's degradation also. So this shloka is very much relevant to our lives, how the people spoil their lives, how the people can elevate their lives as well. And leaders should set the goal. And the goal, for setting the goal, there are certain qualities required in any leader. And those qualities are explained by Krishna to the warrior Arjuna. For a person who is selfless, and that person with determination aims towards one purpose, and he only plans for one goal and one purpose, whereas the undecided and ignorant person moves by various desires and wanders in all directions with innumerable thoughts, with innumerable aims. So this is the way, and one can spoil the life. And the great leader always focuses on a bigger goal with firmness and with complete determination to achieve that goal. So the determination aimed towards one purpose and without any confusion, without any desire. Even the leader never expresses the result. Result is obvious if one determines to achieve and one put the complete efforts without any second thought, without any confusion, and without any innumerable thoughts. And with firm decision, one can achieve the goal. The shloka is like that, just I will recite. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahusakha anantascha buddhayo vyavasayina. These are the qualities required to set the goals for any kind of leader. So further, the setting of the standards is very important. The great leaders always set the standards and the universe follow those standards. The shloka is very, very important for the management and the leadership point of view. Yadyada charati shrestha tattadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanu vartate. Krishna said that a great man, whatever actions he performs, the others follow the same. Whatever standards he sets by his exemplary acts, the whole world pursues the same. So leader must be the role model for all. He set the standards and for the whole universe. If the leader does not set the standards, what will happen? He will lose the fame, he will lose the name. Further, Krishna explained the same in another shlokas that Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakirti maranadhati vichyate. Krishna said that death is better than the infamy, getting the infamy. Because if you don't fight in this battle, people will speak stories of your dishonorable act. For a respectable person like you, Arjuna, such infamy is worse than death. So a leader should not set the non-standard acts which lead to infamy. So leaders should keep in mind all the time what kind of acts he is performing, so that the universe is observing him, so that the standard should be of that order, so that universe can follow and elevate themselves. For any person, the position is important, position and status. Accordingly, one should act. Otherwise, again, they will lose their reputation, fame, name, and everything. There are shlokas explained by Krishna to the warrior Arjuna. Bhayadranadu paratam mamsyam te tvam maharatha yesham chetvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam. Arjuna, the other great warriors all around you have highly esteemed your name and fame so far. If you don't fight, now they will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear. They will consider you insignificant. Actually, Arjuna was a great warrior. The enemies, nobody can stand in front of him. As he lost his character, he lost his spirit, so the people will think differently about him. So what Krishna explained him, so that people will make the stories about you and you lose your reputation. So they will consider you insignificant. So another shloka further explained Krishna that avatyavadamscha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha nindantastava samarthyam tato dukhataram kim avatyavadamscha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha. Arjuna, your enemies will question your abilities. If you don't fight, if you don't stand in the battlefield, your enemies will question your abilities. They feel that you are not capable of doing the fight. They will speak many unkind words about you. They don't properly talk about you. What could be more painful than that for you, Arjuna? It's really painful for Arjuna if he doesn't like to fight in the battlefield. So, according to our position and status, we should act our role. We should perform our duty. That's what Krishna told Arjuna. And further, the time management is one of the aspects we usually see in our management courses. The time management is very much essential, but the time management means not just to accomplish in time, but the action in time is very important. That what Krishna told that Kutastva kasmalamidam vishami samupastitam anarya justam asvargyam akirti karam arjuna akirti karam arjuna. Arjuna, how you got this infatuation at this hour of crisis? Because the time demands to fight Arjuna, but Arjuna was withdrawing to fight against the opponents. But time was demanding and Arjuna was not following. It's not the right act of superiors like Arjuna, because Arjuna was a great warrior, but he was not acting as a superior at that point of time. So when time was demanding, he was not acting. It will not bring you any fame and it will not lead you to heaven. So if Arjuna doesn't want to fight against the opponents, so what will be the result? It will not give any fame and he will lose the reputation as we have seen in the previous shlokas, and it will not lead to heaven also. So what for he is losing? He doesn't want to fight against the opponents and evildoers. That's not the right as per Krishna. If the need of the action in time is not fulfilled, even any extraordinary action on a later minute is of no use. Because Arjuna was in advance ready to fight against the opponents. But when he reached to the battlefield and after seeing his own people and after visualizing the consequences of the battle and visualizing the damage of the whole dynasty, he wanted to withdraw from the fight. That was not right as per Krishna. And Krishna told that the time is demanding and you have to act your duty. The personality traits are very much important. Krishna explained as a warrior what Arjuna should possess, the qualities, the characteristics of a warrior he was explaining. Actually, Krishna explained the characteristics of many people, not only the warriors. He explained the characteristics of the Brahmins, those who teaches the and who educate the people, and he explained the characteristics of the businessman. He explained the characteristics of the service people even. So here Krishna explained the characteristic qualities of a leader like warrior Arjuna. So here he told in the shloka, Sauryam tejo dhrutirdakshyam yudhe chapyapalayanam danamisvara bhavasya kshatram karma sabhavajam. Heroism, power, determination, and resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership. These are the qualities required for the warriors, what Krishna told. Because Arjuna cannot leave the battlefield, it is not the leadership quality. And he should have that courage to fight in the battle. Further, he explained that the way of communication, way of the speech, what we use in our life, that's very much important for any kind of leader. It's a personality trait. The quality of the speech is very much essential and important, and it is one of the personality trait as per Krishna. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chiva Vangmayam tapauchyate. Speech which causes no annoyance to others, and speech which is truthful, pleasing, beneficial to others, in the study of the Vedas and other scriptures, and practice of chanting spiritual acts. These all are the characteristic qualities for the speech one should follow. And in fact, these are called as canons of the speech, and one should follow. One must analyze his or her own personality traits and further bring the improvement in the character, in the own character. Because the personality traits are useful for any kind of leader. And these personality traits have to be developed from one statehood. It's not one day's job. We should habituate during the course of our whole life to develop, and these are the personality traits useful for any kind of leader. Because if you compare the Duryodhana and other Pandavas, Duryodhana has developed the personality traits in such a way, and no one can like him, and he is the responsible, he was the culprit for the whole damage of the dynasty. And whereas Pandavas, and they have developed the personality traits in such a way, and the whole universe followed their actions. That's the difference between the personality traits of Duryodhana and Pandavas. The traits of leadership, we know that many traits we usually talk, like entrepreneurship, vision, strategy, planning, knowledge, and accountability, responsibility, goal setting. Many things we already discussed with relevant shlokas of Bhagavad-Gita. And Arjuna was lacking here the knowledge, and hence he was unable to take any kind of decision, and he was unable to decide his duty. And then Krishna explained on various aspects, provided vast knowledge to Arjuna, and later Arjuna understood and acted as per the instruction of the Krishna. So just to update the leadership traits, so as an entrepreneur or accountable person, responsible person, Arjuna have all kind of qualities except the knowledge at the moment, at the time of in the battlefield, where he was to act and he was to fight against the opponents. He lost the personality and he lost his character, and he was in confused mind of state. So he lost many things. So main reason was that he was lacking the knowledge. Then Krishna provided the knowledge, and Arjuna realized what he was to do and what was his duty at that context. Now we have seen so many qualities required for the leadership. And here in the beginning, we discussed about the self-management and the management of self. The self-management, there is quite a difference, difference in the self-management and management of self, as I explained in the initial. Unless we have the management of the self, and we cannot do proper job for the self-management. Management of self means the cultivation of our soul, purification of our soul. Whatever actions we do, and that is of higher order, and the whole universe should follow. That's the kind of things we should adopt and we should execute. So, in fact, the management of self that elevates our life, afterlife even. So, how we elevate in this life and after this life, that depends on how much we can purify ourselves, how we can cultivate our soul, that depends. So if we we elevate ourselves, if we purify ourselves, that will help for our self-management as well in our routine jobs, whether it can be professional, it can be domestic, even it can be in the spiritual even. So the self-management and management of self both are very much important for a right leader. Management of self, here if we see that the self-management is effective and efficient if one practices the actions of management of self. For management of self, one must acquire the knowledge and self-realization, knowledge and spirituality, because the person who is having the spiritual knowledge and his spiritual coefficient is high, and so that he follows the ethics, he follows the morals, and accordingly he acts and execute his duty. So the cultivation of spiritual knowledge is very much necessary for liberation and unite with the Supreme. So there are many components required in the management of self for elevation of the self, like path of action, knowledge, self-realization, the devotion, meditation, and most important is the practice and execution. Management of self, what Krishna told Arjuna, that what path we choose for our actions, very important. That decides the future elevation of our life. In the shloka of chapter 9, in the verse 3, he explained that Ashraddhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrutyu Samsara Vartmani. People, those who have no faith on the path of dharma, that is righteousness, they never attain the liberation in spirituality. They never attain the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they continue to revolve the life cycle of birth and death. They don't get the moksha. So one has to follow the path of righteousness. One should habituate to walk on the path of righteousness. That what explained by Krishna to Arjuna. So because the other opponent people, they are not in the path of righteousness, that's why Krishna explained Arjuna and tried to motivate him, tried to educate him to fight against the people. So those are the evildoers. They are not following the right path. That's why Krishna trying to motivate Arjuna and provoke with variety of statements and variety of knowledge he provided and educated Arjuna, so that Arjuna can understand his duty and to act accordingly. So further Krishna explained that we are talking about the management of self. He was explaining the quality of the self one should adopt in the shloka. I think this is the highest order of the principle one should follow, whoever is in the path of spirituality, or whoever in fact works for the society, and whoever is having a great leadership qualities. सर्वभूतस्थमात्मानं सर्वभूतानि चात्मनि ईक्षते योगयुक्तात्मा सर्वत्र समदर्शनः. The true person who sees all beings even and indeed beholds the self existing in all beings and all beings in the self, that person is called as yogi. Yogi means whoever practicing all these things is a yogi. Yogi means any kind of person. We all yogis, if we practice this principle, we have to see our Atma in all other beings, and we have to see the others in our soul. That is the kind of principle, that is the kind of quality one should acquire, so that all are uniform, all are equal. That's the concept here. And we have to see equal, whatever we treat ourselves for us, we have to treat for others also. So that's the kind of principle we should adopt, and for the elevation of our life, for management of the self. Further, he explained the characteristics he likes in the people. Krishna likes in the people. It means those people who have these characteristics, they can attain the spirituality. They can attain the liberation in the spirituality. What Krishna explained that he likes these qualities. He said that Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna yevacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sukha kshemi santushta satatam yogi yatatma drudha-nischayah mayarpita manobuddhi yo madbhakta same priyah. Krishna said that all these qualities are very much essential in the people, and he likes those people who are having these qualities. What are those qualities? He explained that the one who is not envious, number one, and but is kind to all the living entities, who is free from ego, who treats equal both happiness and sorrow, and who is tolerant of always and always satisfied, and self-control, and engaged in devotional service, and completely determination, and who surrender himself, his mind and intelligence to me, to Krishna. It means that such kind of devotee of mine is very dear to me. Krishna was telling that the person who is having all these qualities, and I like that person, so he is eligible for liberation in spirituality. He is telling indirectly. So these qualities are very much essential for management of the self, for the elevation of the self, for elevation of our life, and to have a better life after life. That's what Krishna explained. Further, Krishna explained that few more characteristics required in spirituality and for self-elevation. What he was telling that Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rushayakshina Kalmashaha Chinnadvaithayatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hiteratahan Krishna explained few more characteristics required in a people, those who really wants to elevate the self, whose sins are washed away, whose doubts are dispelled by knowledge, because knowledge is important. All the time, the people's knowledge is covered by their ignorance. So ignorance we have to remove, and knowledge we should acquire. Whose disciplined mind is firmly engaged in God, and who are devoted to the welfare of all living beings. Without people are, these days, many people are very selfish. Krishna said that leave that selfish nature and work for the welfare of all other living beings, not only the humans, for all living beings he was talking. So they achieve the liberation in Supreme and get peace. What Krishna explained in the shloka. So in all, the self-management is very much required for our daily life, and the management of self also is, in fact, it is very, very essential for the elevation of our life and to have the better life after life. So management of self is most important. And if one manages the self, and that person can lead not only in achieving the task, whether it can be a professional task or domestic task, even the spiritual, he can even achieve the greatest heights and elevate the life by any person. If one practices, one can achieve, one can elevate in life. That's what Krishna told. All these aspects are very much essential for a leader. So management of self is required for effective leadership. That's what I try to explain, capturing few shlokas of Bhagavad-Gita. And in fact, Bhagavad-Gita is a manual, as I told that, is a manual for our lives, for management of our lives. So it provides a lot of confidence, and even all kind of management sutras are available in Bhagavad Gita. So as long as we try to understand the Gita, the essence of Gita, and adopt in our lives, definitely we can achieve various heights in our lives, and we can achieve the destiny, whatever we plan in our life, or even after life, in the next life, I mean. So based on these concepts, I authored a book also with the title of Master of Life Management. I authored a book, and shortly I'm going to release that book. That is the Master of Life Management. Because we know there are so many master's degrees like Master of Science, Master of Arts, Master of Business Administration, but there is no degree for our life management. But I thought Bhagavad Gita is the right scripture, so I selected Bhagavad Gita, and based on the verses explained by Krishna, Krishna explained 574 shlokas in Bhagavad Gita to the great warrior Arjuna. And all those 574 shlokas I have taken, and I classified and conceptualized based on the management theories, and I have written a book with the title of Master of Life Management. Master of Life Management, Krishna is Jagat Guru, so definitely he is the master, so he knows everything. But the Bhagavad Gita itself is a piece that has the highest standard, which explains and which directs what actions we need to follow and what actions we need not to follow. So accordingly, if we follow the Bhagavad Gita, definitely there is quite elevation in our life. In fact, the people also get benefited from us if we follow the Bhagavad Gita. Not only it is useful for us, it is beneficial for others as well by our actions. That is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. With this, I end up my speech, and thank you, Mr. Ajay, for giving this opportunity. Thanks a lot, and Jai Sri Krishna.
Well, thank you, Dr. Murali. Thank you so much. That was a soulful, inspiring, and very elevating talk. I learned a lot while just listening to you. It was so soulful to listen to those shlokas in your meditative voice. And the insights that you brought out on the concept of leadership are truly unparalleled. With that, let's move on to a few questions that we have for you for the rest of the time we have with you. With your permission, I would like to ask you...
Sure, definitely.
Thank you. Dr. Murali, and I was looking to your scientific background. It's clear you have invested so much of your life, several decades in scientific research. Coming from a logic and scientific background, what brought you to the message of Gita and what convinced you about it?
Gita actually is not, people feel that it's a spiritual text, but it's not the spiritual text. Actually, it's the educative text. It explains many things for our lives. If we follow, many things we can capture from Bhagavad-Gita. If we follow in our life, as already in my speech I covered, and it elevates our life, not only our life, it elevates the life of others who are around us. So that is the power of Bhagavad Gita. And scientifically also, if we see that lot many things are there in Bhagavad Gita, and even I written an article with scientific assumptions based on the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. Even if you see that, if we see the scientifically that the first law of thermodynamics, if you see that energy never changes, only it transforms from one form to other form, like the electricity can be converted to the mechanical. So like that, in Gita it is explained that the soul is immortal, okay? It changes the body, it never gets destroyed. So it is similar like that. Soul is nothing but energy, that it transfers from one body to another. Like the energy transfers from one form to another form, similarly the soul transfers from one body to another body. So that's kind of, there's the energy in fact, if we correlate with the law of thermodynamics scientifically. So it is there in Gita. There are so many aspects we can explain in Bhagavad Gita scientifically, and some we cannot explain because our knowledge is very limited. We cannot reach to that extent that everything we can explain scientifically. But few definitely we can explain, and probably after a few centuries we can definitely enter Bhagavad Gita, probably we can explain scientifically. And Bhagavad Gita is such a scripture, as long as the man is there on this earth, the Bhagavad Gita remains. Because you see that is a 5,000 years old scripture, but still we are talking, and you are organizing grand event today. So on Bhagavad Gita, why it is happening? That is the power of Bhagavad Gita. We all follow the Bhagavad Gita. We all respect the Bhagavad Gita. That's the kind of scripture, and the highest in order and highest in principles. So it's very difficult to understand and very difficult to follow and very difficult to execute in our lives. But if we practice, as said by Krishna, okay, and this chapter 6 and 35 verse, he explained already, so that the practice and detachment, here the practice is most important to learn Bhagavad Gita and to adopt those principles in our lives, and to practice and to elevate our lives and to elevate the lives of others as well.
Thank you, Dr. Murali. In your journey with the Bhagavad Gita, are there people or books that influenced you the most?
As I said, that Bhagavad Gita itself is an inspirational text, and the other inspiration for me is my parents. My father is a teacher, and he was in education for more than 5 decades, and he was in social service. So my mother also very religious, and she knows the Bhagavad Gita and she likes Bhagavad Gita. I thought that I dedicated my whole work of Bhagavad Gita to my parents and to the whole mankind. It's not, I didn't do any business on my work. It's a free of cost, whatever I have done so far on Bhagavad Gita. And it is for the society, and it is for the betterment of the people, and particularly for the young generations. I tried to conceptualize based on the verses of Bhagavad Gita on management theories, and so useful for the youth and students, all young generations, of course for the whole mankind.
Thank you, Dr. Murali. Wonderful answer. In fact, talking about your publication and your works on Bhagavad Gita, I went through a few. There was a particular article I read on the habits in life from the Bhagavad Gita. Very inspiring. In fact, you even talked about some of the concepts there around time management. All of us struggle with busy lives these days. With the pace of life has gotten so fast. What wisdom you can share from your contemplation of Bhagavad Gita around time management for our audience today?
The time management almost I think I covered in my speech earlier, but the time management is that what time demands, you have to do that. During this COVID period, we all know that what time demands. So a lot of research happened and a lot of treatment happened, and our doctors community also tried to try to eradicate this disease, try to protect the patients, in fact. So the time is like that, the time demands we should be able to act. That's the most important. Even for Arjuna also, in the battlefield, he lost his character, as I said, that when time demanded him, and he lost his character. He lost his leadership qualities, which were really essential at that moment of time. You see, as simple as that, time means not just to organize the things and to complete the work as decided or as targeted by maybe in the offices, bosses usually give the timelines and people work to meet those timelines. I think those are all very routine activities, but the time means when time demands, we have to act. Like if a drug must be available to save the life of a patient. Otherwise, if we develop that drug after some time on a later day, what's the use of that? When we cannot protect the life of a person, what's the use of the drug on a later stage? Of course, that may be useful for the further people, but we lost the life. So that when time demands, then we should be able to accomplish that activity. That's what I feel that. So it is not that completing in time, that's not that. We should be ready, whatever the action, with whatever action, whatever the sacrifice we have to do, we should be ready for that, and we should act accordingly when time demands. We should not miss the time. That's what I mean to say about the time management.
Amazing, Dr. Murali. Thank you so much for that answer. Talking about your album, the Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, it was very melodious. I actually heard it yesterday night. I was listening to it, and it's really, really well. You're blessed by Lord Krishna for a very melodious and soulful voice. I got interested in knowing what is the next project you're working on. Is that a next album? I think you mentioned about your book as well. Could you tell us a little more?
Yeah, that next project already is completed and shortly it will be released. That is the book I authored with the title of Master of Life Management, as I explained already. And this book, actually, I took almost 3 years to complete this book, because I targeted the book for the youth as well as for the whole mankind, of course, because it's a life management I'm talking. So for all the beings, for all humans, okay. So it is very interesting book. I tried to capture many qualities like leadership, like even Bhagavad-Gita explains everything, in fact, whatever we need in the life. It explains leadership qualities, it explains the personality traits, leadership traits, time management, habits in life. It explains, even you know that earlier you were asking the question that how scientifically we can explain that. Even Krishna explains scientifically that how the whatever food we take inside, whatever food or whatever we take intake, how it digests in our stomach. It is explained in Bhagavad Gita. So how much time we should sleep, how much time we should awake, how much we have to eat, how much we should not. Many things, the balance in our recreation, in fact, balance in our diet schedules, balance in our sleeping habits, on many habits, and balance, even equality among the beings, equality among the good and bad, equality in all kind of things. Equanimity is one big subject in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, how you treat the happiness or distress, how mental ability you should acquire. That's clearly explained in Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna was explained all the things whatever required in our lives. He explained what he facilitated, in fact, what are the required, how the food grains actually are available on this earth. Krishna explained that. How water can be generated, how the heat can be generated. Everything is clearly described in Bhagavad Gita. So whatever the living beings needed, all are facilitated and available. What Krishna explained in Gita.
Thank you, Dr. Murali. My last question
And
to
all
you.
these things I covered in my book as well. This is the Master of Life Management. And shortly it will be released. And request you all to go through that book once it is released. And definitely it gives a lot of knowledge and insight for each one of the life. So one can easily understand. Because Bhagavad Gita is in Sanskrit naturally, and people feel it is spiritual, or some people feel that no, it is a religious. It's nothing like. There is no boundary for the Gita. It is irrespective of it is the educative book for the whole mankind, irrespective of the religion. No, there is no boundary for this text.
Wonderful to hear that. Our best wishes are with you for your book and the next project, Dr. Murali. With that, I come to my last question to you, which is,
Yes.
I see an underlying theme in many of your works around passing this wisdom of Bhagavad Gita to the youth and the next generation. What would be your message, if you can succinctly present your message for the youth and the next generation listening to you right now?
This is very, very, in fact, vital question you asked. And all the time I feel that youth should refer the Bhagavad Gita. But Bhagavad Gita as such, youth feel that all the time it is in Sanskrit, and youth feel that is a religious book, is a spiritual book. First, that kind of attitude we should eliminate. And the Bhagavad Gita should be the part of the syllabus in academic institutes. I think in India it is now started, and few universities and many academic institutes started teaching Bhagavad Gita. And first, that kind of attitude we have to change. It's not just spiritual. It is, to be very frank, the book emerged in the battlefield. How it can be spiritual? When battle was just about to happen at Kurukshetra, and Arjuna was in depression, and Krishna educated Arjuna through his teachings. And all those teachings, the compiled form is the Bhagavad Gita. So those teachings are to activate Arjuna, to explain, to provide the knowledge, various aspects to Arjuna. So all those teachings are important to perform the duty. Because Arjuna was in confused state and he forgot his duty. He understood later what Krishna was telling. Once he got the knowledge, he acted. So that knowledge is the education. Krishna educated Arjuna. That education we should impart in our school syllabuses even, starting from our childhood, so that it's a part of our syllabus, starting from school going. Even for schooling children also should know about the Bhagavad Gita. Maybe something should be started from schooling days. So it becomes a habit. At least some ethical values will improve, moral values improve, and in fact, crime will come down, definitely. Whatever we see in our society, lot of crime, that crime will come down. Because once the people understand the ethics, moral values, because people do a lot of fraud and people do lies for their benefit, because selfish nature, that should not be developed from the childhood. That is only possible when Bhagavad Gita introduced from our childhood, so that once they reach to maybe in the higher studies, the more interpretations, more in-depth knowledge can be imparted to the youth so that they can adopt in their lifestyle, so that they can do much better in their lives for the society as well as for them itself, for them as well.
Amazing, Dr. Murali. Well, Carl Sagan had said that science is not only compatible with spirituality, but it could be a profound source of spirituality. That is the message that rang in my head as I was listening to you. Your life and your efforts have really proven it, that science can be a proven, profound source of spiritual progress. As with all the good things, this must come to an end as well. We wish you all the very best for your future endeavors, especially the book coming up. And we also look forward to inviting you to our future events, including the next year Bhagavad-Gita Summit as well. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Murali, today. And it was a pleasure and an honor to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Jai Sri Krishna.
Radhe Radhe.